I'm Mara, 29. For most of my life, I wore an invisible sign, the other daughter. Tuesday nights were our routine, a simple dinner, salad roast chicken, the TV murmuring in the living room where Dad dozed. Ordinary. Then my mother Elaine set down a stack of plates and said almost kindly, "Mara, some people are born steady and some are born special. Your sister is special." The fork in my hand didn't just slip. Something in me did. I made a decision in that quiet kitchen, a decision that would save the part of me I kept burying to keep the peace. Before this story ends, you'll see the numbers, the receipts, the choices. You'll see why one sentence pushed me to flip the table I'd been setting my whole life. I grew up in Maple Ridge, Minnesota. Snowy winters, good schools, neighbors who waved whether they liked you or not. Serena, 2 years older, taller, better at being looked at, moved through our town like she had a spotlight on a dimmer switch she controlled. First chair violin, debate captain, student body president who shook the mayor's hand like she'd known him for years. Me, I learned how to be useful. I made signs for school plays. I edited videos for the morning announcements. I fixed the yearbook layout at 2 in the morning because no one else knew how to stop the captions from jumping. Teachers said I had an eye. Mom said I had nice hobbies. Parent-teacher nights were the worst. I'd sit on a hard bench outside the classroom doors, listening to muffled voices and the rattle of the old radiator. When my turn came, my English teacher would smile and say, "Mara is thoughtful," which is educator code for quiet and overprepared. Mom would nod, ask if I'd ever try for AP something, then steer the talk back to Serena. "Serena excels," she'd say, like it was her last name. At home, our living room told the story better than anyone could. The mantel, Serena's state debate trophy, framed newspaper clippings of her wins, a glossy photo of her in a black dress at a scholarship banquet. My corner, a watercolor of our house that I was proud of until Mom called it sweet. The frame was smaller. That detail mattered to me more than it should have. Serena chose Columbia Law because of course she did. She sent postcards from Manhattan scribbled with names of professors Mom recognized from TV. Elaine stuck every card on the fridge with gold magnets. When I got into the state university after 2 years of community college and a full-time retail job, Mom hugged me and whispered, "See, persistence pays off." It sounded like pity in a dress. My degree was in interaction design. I liked building things you could feel with your thumbs, tiny choices that made someone's day simpler. After graduation, I joined a small app startup above a bakery that smelled like cinnamon every morning. Work was fast and messy. We launched things, broke things, fixed them at midnight. I loved it. Mom called it app art. She'd say it with a smile that missed my face by an inch. Serena's firm Barton & Jessup handles cases for Fortune 500s, she'd add, as if my push notifications were papier-mâché. Serena moved home at 29 with a title that made our aunts gasp, senior associate. She brought a man named Adrian to Thanksgiving. He was a vascular surgeon with good posture and the polite confidence of someone used to urgent rooms. He shook Dad's hand. He kissed Mom's cheek. He asked me about my work and actually listened, which made me like him and resent him a little too. That night, the praise ran like a faucet. Mom told everyone how Serena's billable hours proved grit. She folded napkins like swans and asked if we'd seen Serena quoted in a legal blog. When I mentioned our app had crossed 200,000 users, Mom said, "That's adorable, honey," and passed the cranberry sauce to Serena. I don't think Elaine meant to be cruel. I think she believed she was honoring excellence, but excellence in our house had one face. Every time Serena accomplished anything, Mom made room for it by moving my things smaller, farther lower. If the mantle was a map, I lived in the margins. I tried to find neutral ground. I ran on winter mornings. I took night classes in DataViz because no one in my family could argue with a graph. I said yes to freelance gigs and learned to invoice without apologizing for the total. My friends teased that I had 3 calendars and color-coded grocery lists. Organization was how I kept the noise down. Nadia became my anchor. We met at a hackathon where both of us forgot to eat for 9 hours. She had a laugh that made people turn around in restaurants. When I told her about the mantle, she said, "Buy your own shelf," then drove me to a thrift shop to find one. We mounted it in my apartment over a potted pothos and crowned it with my first product design award. It wasn't big. It felt huge. Theo was the validator. He worked QA at my startup and saw what I built without needing me to narrate it. He'd ping me screenshots at 2 a.m. with, "This flows because you care." When you've been someone's shadow long enough, those 5 words can feel like warm light on your face. The revealer, though I wouldn't know it until later, was Aunt Maggie. She noticed things. She watched the way Mom's voice tilted when she said Serena's name. She noticed the stack of envelopes I carried in and the way Mom tucked them into a drawer. Maggie would say, "You're doing too much." I'd laugh it off. I'd say, "It's family." We both knew that wasn't a plan. It was a leak. And the manipulator Elaine did it with softness, with questions that sounded like love. "Can you help Saturday? Serena has a big hearing Monday and shouldn't be stressed. Your father hates dealing with paperwork, you're so good with details. Champ, could you move some money for me?" My online banking is confusing. She made her asks sound like compliments. I took pride in being reliable. It's funny how your best quality becomes the string someone pulls first. January slid into March. Dad's cough got louder. He still joked, still fell asleep with the TV remote on his chest, still called me shortstop even though I never played. He taught high school for 30 years and carried his patients home like a second coat. When he was around, the air felt less sharp. Serena's life kept flashing across our family group chat courtroom selfies from a distance hospital galas with Adrian, a black tie event where her dress looked like poured ink. Mom reacted to every photo with hearts. When I sent a video of a feature I shipped gesture controls that made our app faster, Mom typed "nice," and then a minute later Serena's firm was on the news. I learned to start and finish my own celebrations. Nadia and I clinked mugs in my kitchen at 11:40 p.m. and called it a launch party. The money part crept in sideways. It always does. A bill here. A copay there. "Could you float the electric?" Mom would ask. "I'll pay you back after the wedding deposits settle." Serena and Adrian were planning a spring wedding with white peonies and a string quartet. I moved numbers around my budget because I could, because I was careful, because telling myself it's temporary felt kinder than admitting it's expected. The first time I covered the mortgage, Mom hugged me so tight my chin hit her shoulder. "You're a lifesaver," she said. I believed her. The second time, she slipped the envelope from my hand like it was routine. The third time, she didn't look up from a seating chart. I noticed. I forgave it. That's what reliable people do. We turn neglect into noise and move through it. On that Tuesday, I arrived early to help with dinner. The house smelled like rosemary and citrus cleaner. The radio murmured oldies. Dad was napping. Serena was tied up at the firm, but would come later. I chopped carrots while Mom narrated Serena's latest win. The plates were set like always. Serena's spot centered the best china, though Serena wasn't even there yet. Mom's line came as she lined up forks. "Some people are born steady and some are born special." She glanced at me, softened it with a pat on my arm, and added, "The world needs both." My throat burned, not from the oven heat, from clarity. Steady was what she called me when she needed a favor. Special was what she called Serena when she needed a story. I had spent years funding other people's stories through labor, through silence, through actual money, and calling it love. That night, I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just watched Mom tuck an envelope into the kitchen drawer, the one with the squeaky track. I thought about the times I had come here with checks about the screens I had tapped to move money that didn't feel like mine once it left my account. Nadia's voice rang in my head. "Buy your own shelf." I decided to do something I should have done years ago. I decided to keep records, every transfer, every bill, every lifesaver. Not to throw them in anyone's face, but to stop letting my own brain dim the lights on my effort, to see myself clearly even if my family didn't. And I decided one more thing, the bravest thing. If the next cruel sentence came, and it would, I would answer it with the truth I owed myself. What I didn't know yet was how quickly next would be. 3 days later, the phone rang. It was Elaine, voice breathless, words tumbling. "Your father. Mara, we're at County General." Everything that followed started with that call. County General was all white light and humming vents. I sat with a cooling coffee and a number marching across my brain. Deductible. Out of network. Aftercare. Words that sound harmless until someone you love needs them. A nurse called my mother Elaine and took us to a small room with a tissue box. My stomach knew what that box meant. A cardiologist explained blockages in a calm voice like he'd practiced that tone in front of a mirror. Surgery now. Good odds. Long recovery. We nodded like bobbleheads because nodding felt like doing something. Dad came through. Tubes. Beeps. His hand was warm when I held it. I counted the beats by the monitor because counting was the only math I could do that night. Then the bill talk began. An insurance coordinator spread out forms, lines and boxes and signatures, a deposit to start rehab in 2 weeks. Mom went paper white. Her pen hovered and drew a tiny comet on the consent line. "I'll cover the deposit," I said. My voice surprised me by not shaking. I slid my card across the table. The coordinator thanked me and stapled a copy. Staples sound louder in a small room. Serena swept in at 10 with Adrian in a navy suit and hospital badge. She hugged Dad, hugged Mom, hugged me. She smelled faintly of expensive soap and rain. Adrian spoke doctor fluently. He translated terms, asked good questions, promised to check on a specialist. Serena squeezed my shoulder. "Text me everything," she murmured. "This week is chaos. I'll circle back after my hearing." I wanted to be mad that she said circle back. I wasn't. I was tired. Mom wasn't mad either. "She's swamped," she told Aunt Maggie on the phone. "Big case. Important client." The tone made client sound like country. I became the person who knew where the blue folder lived. I filled forms. I called the insurance. I waited on hold until the music ran out. "You're good with details," Mom said, and handed me another stack. I told myself that being needed was not the same as being seen. Nadia met me at the hospital with protein bars and a look that said, "Drink water, stubborn girl." She took one look at the billing binder and whispered, "Start a spreadsheet, date, purpose, amount. Who asked?" So I did. I tracked it all. The rehab deposit, the at-home monitor, the medication co-pays, the parking fees, the weeks of groceries, when Mom forgot the list and came home with tulips and no bread. I added columns for promise to repay and status. Those columns stayed mostly blank. It felt like keeping a diary in numbers. A week in, Mom called me from the house. "The gas bill. Could you float it just this once?" "Of course," I said. And I meant it. The gas bill kept Dad warm. That mattered. I moved money. I logged it. I went back to the hospital and combed Dad's hair. Work didn't stop. The startup still shipped builds. Theo covered for me, slid bugs off my plate, and left a cinnamon roll on my desk with a sticky note. "You carry so much. Let us carry some." At night, I freelanced sketching wireframes with a sleeping cat video playing in the background like white noise. I raised my rates because Theo yelled at me in whisper texts until I did. It helped, but not enough. Hospitals eat money like fire eats air. Serena was present and not present. She brought fancy hand cream for Mom and a new robe for Dad. She stayed 40 minutes, then took a call in the hallway and left with a kiss. Adrian came back later with a list of questions for nurses and the quiet authority that makes people listen faster. I liked him more than I wanted to. I resented the part of me that needed his calm to breathe. At home, the squeaky drawer became a drumbeat. Mom tucked my envelopes in without looking. I told myself I didn't care about the ritual, but routine reveals power. One night I opened the drawer to grab a pen and saw a glossy brochure on top of the bills. Riverview Conservatory. A garden wedding venue with glass ceilings and a view of the river. The kind of place where light itself seems choreographed. A yellow sticky note clung to the cover. Hold date. Ask about deposit. I blinked, closed the drawer, told myself not to borrow trouble. People are allowed to plan joy while holding fear. That's survival. Aunt Maggie came by with casseroles and a sixth sense. She eyed the stack of envelopes, then looked at me. "You're doing too much," she said. She lowered her voice. Elaine told Mrs. Patel she secured the conservatory before prices go up. How I asked. My tone was too sharp. She said, "We're blessed. The girls help." Maggie studied my face. "Did Serena? I don't know," I said. I changed the subject because I hated the answer forming in my chest. Creeping suspicion doesn't knock. It leaks under the door and makes the floor slippery. Little things. Mom saying just this once 3 times. The way she forwarded me emails from the rehab center, but never the ones about wedding vendor confirmations. The way she said, "It's all the same pot," when I reminded her the car insurance was due. I asked Serena on a Sunday call if she knew about the utilities. She went quiet. Mom said the insurance covers most stuff, she said. I sent flowers. You did. I kept my voice soft because this wasn't a courtroom. They were beautiful. I can help, she added quickly. After I wrap this case, Adrian and It's okay. I lied. Focus on your week. We hung up. I looked at my spreadsheet. I added a line, flowers emotional value high, financial value not the point. Then I closed my laptop and cried in the shower so no one would hear. At work, I said yes to another freelance sprint. I filled nights with client calls and sticky notes. Nadia dragged me out for air anyway. We walked a loop around the block while snow squeaked under our boots. "Promise me one thing," she said. "When this is stable, you tell the truth. Not mean, not dramatic, just the truth with receipts." "I'm saving everything," I told her. "I know," she said. "That's why I'm not more scared for you." Mom's guilt surfaced in odd ways. She started praising my steady at random times. "You're so dependable," she'd say while I scraped a casserole dish. "Don't know what we'd do without you." Then she'd hand me the rehab invoice. The first real crack came from a detail so small it would be funny if it weren't a mirror. I logged a transfer $2,750 labeled mortgage plus meds. 2 days later, Aunt Maggie texted me a photo from the Community Board Riverview Conservatory announces spring special, $2,750 holds your date. Same number, same week. I stared until the numbers blurred. It wasn't proof, but it was a sign. I asked Mom directly that night, "Did you put down a deposit?" She didn't meet my eyes. "We're exploring options," she said. "Richard's parents are contributing," Serena insisted. "So you paid—" "Don't be accusatory, Mara. You know how sensitive I get about money." "I know," I said. "That's why I'm asking plainly." She sighed. "We can't let Serena lose her dream venue because of bad timing. It's one day. Your father will be proud to walk her down that aisle." "He will," I said. My voice sounded far away. "He'd also like to keep this house." She flinched. "I'm handling it." I looked at the drawer. I looked at her. "No," I said softly. "I am." Silence stretched. The clock in the hall clicked like a metronome on the wrong setting. I picked up the rehab schedule and left before I said something I couldn't swallow. That night, I built a new tab in my spreadsheet boundaries. I wrote 3 lines. Dad's care, yes. Household essentials with visibility. Wedding expenses, not me. I sent Mom a text so there would be words we could point to later. I'll continue covering medical and basics until Serena and Adrian set up their plan. I won't fund wedding costs. Please loop Serena on all money decisions. I typed and erased the sentence, "Ask your special daughter to pay your special bills," then deleted it. It was a good line. It wasn't the right one. Theo pinged me after midnight. "We can add you to the big contract. You'll get a bonus." I leaned back and let that mercy sink in. Then I opened the folder where I kept scanned receipts and renamed it for later. The funny thing about deciding to tell the truth is that the truth starts showing you where it's hiding. 2 days later, I reached into the squeaky drawer for stamps and found a manila envelope unsealed. Inside the conservatory contract, a copy of a cashier's check, a note from the venue manager. "Thank you for the prompt payment, Elaine. We can hold June 5. The check image showed the exact amount I'd sent that week down to the dollar. The memo line on my transfer said mortgage plus meds. The memo on the check said hold date Serena plus Adrian. I sat at the kitchen table, the manila envelope open between my hands. I wasn't raging. I wasn't even shocked. I felt something colder than anger and sharper than grief. Recognition. This was the story I'd been living. This was how steady gets used up. I slid everything back into the envelope and closed the drawer without pushing it fully in. The track squeaked. I let it. I wanted the sound to live in the room. When I got to the hospital, Dad was awake. He squeezed my fingers. "Shortstop," he rasped, smiling around the word. "You look tired." "I am," I said. "But we're okay." He watched my face like he was grading a test and I'd left the essay blank. "Your mother?" "She's planning," I said. He nodded. "She needs targets." "So do I said. I kissed his forehead. "I'm setting some." On my way out, I called Serena. "Can you meet me Sunday? Just you." "Of course," she said, alert at the tone. "Is Dad?" "He's holding steady," I said. "I just have some things you need to see." Serena came on time. No entourage, no lawyer voice. She wore a gray sweater and the tired look of someone used to postponing sleep. I'd cleared my small table, 2 mugs, a neat stack of papers, my laptop with the spreadsheet open to totals in bold. She sat. "How bad is it?" I slid the first page over. Dates, amounts, notes, rehab deposit, medication copays, mortgage, gas, groceries, parking. I kept my voice even. This is 10 weeks, I said. Column C is what I paid. Column F is what Mom said she'd handle later. Serena read, fast lips moving. Halfway down, she paused. This is a lot. It is. I set the manila envelope beside her. The Riverview Conservatory contract, the cashier's check image, the thank you note, the amount, the date, all tidy. She didn't touch it at first. Her eyes lifted to mine. Is this what I think it is? I nodded. Same week, same number. She opened the envelope slowly, like it might hiss. Then she stared at the check, the memo line, the venue letterhead, the neat cursive, "Thank you for the prompt payment, Elaine." When Serena spoke, her voice was small. I didn't know. I believe you. She blinked hard. Adrian and I planned to cover the venue from our account. I told Mom we'd handle deposits. She brushed me off and said not to worry, she had it sorted. I thought Richard's parents were pitching in. I didn't ask for proof. I should have. We're here now, I said. That counts. Serena pressed her fingers to her forehead. I'm sorry, Mara. It's not an apology problem, I said. It's a plan problem. She gave a broken laugh. Spoken like a PM. Spoken like someone who's tired of being a secret ATM. Silence held for a beat. The radiator clicked. A siren passed 2 blocks away. Serena exhaled. Okay, plan. What do you need me to do? I turned the laptop toward her. First, visibility. You get added to every bill. Auto pay for mortgage and utilities from you and Adrian starting now. Second, reimburse the wedding deposit from your account. Third, medical bills. I'll keep managing logistics this month because I know the maze, then you take over. Fourth, we tell Mom together. Clear, specific, no fireworks. Fifth, we build a family emergency fund so we never run this experiment again. She nodded after each item like she was being deposed by a kind judge. Yes, 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 yes. I opened my phone and texted her the shared folder receipts later. She watched the files appear and shook her head. You kept everything. Nadia told me to. Thank God for Nadia, she murmured. The kettle clicked off. I poured tea because my hands needed a harmless task. Serena sipped and stared at the contract again. Why would Mom do this? She asked softly. I thought of the mantle, the smaller frame, the careful stacking of stories. She's scared, I said. She solves fear by curating an image. Perfect wedding, perfect daughter, clean story, bills don't fit. My help does as long as it stays invisible. That's twisted, Serena whispered. It's also familiar. Serena's mouth tightened. When we were kids, she said, voice slow, Mom told me to set the standard all the time. If I cried, she said, leaders don't cry. If I lost, she said, people are watching. I thought it was love. It felt like a job. She swallowed. I didn't notice she gave you a job, too. Steady one, I said. She met my eyes. You carried us. Not alone, I said quickly. Aunt Maggie has eyes. Nadia drags me into daylight. Theo covers for me at work and tells me to charge what I'm worth. Dad calls me shortstop and checks my face when I lie. Serena smiled at that. It broke and reformed in the same second. Dad's sense for trouble. He'd be good at QA, I said. It made her laugh for real. The shape of her shoulders changed. My phone lit up with a message from Theo, a screenshot of user reviews. New flow is slick. Whoever designed this cares. I angled the screen toward Serena. Look, I said. Different room. Different scoreboard. She read the comments, then wiped under her eye with the cuff of her sweater. I'm so proud of you, she said. I never said it like this. I'm sorry for that, too. Thank you, I said, but save the speech for Mom. Serena nodded. When do we tell her? Tonight, I said. Before the lie gets flowers. She startled. That's soon. Delaying doesn't make truth cheaper, I said. You know that better than anyone. She stared at the contract one more time, then slid it back into the envelope. Okay, she said. We go after dinner. We talk in the kitchen. We keep voices level. We make 3 asks and 1 boundary. I raised my eyebrows. Which boundary? No more money without both our names on the decision, she said. Ever. Good, I said. Add 1 more wedding, costs are yours and Adrian's not mine. Done. Adrian texted her, then surgery wrapped. How's your dad? She typed back. Holding. I'm with Mara. Call you later. Love you. Then she looked at me. I want to tell him. He'll back this. Tell him I said. But this is between us and Mom first. Serena nodded. Agreed. Aunt Maggie rang my buzzer 20 minutes later. She breezed in with a tin of cookies and the face of someone doing math fast. I felt a disturbance, she said. Am I wrong? You're not, I said. Serena gestured to the table. We found the venue deposit. It's Mara's money through a side door. Maggie's jaw flexed. I knew it smelled off. Serena looked pained. Why didn't I see it? Because Elaine is elegant about this, Maggie said. She raps asks in praise. She believes her own script. Honey, you both grew up in it. She squeezed my shoulder. I'm here if you want me there tonight. I shook my head. Thank you. Not yet. If it goes sideways, you'll get a 911 cookie emoji. Maggie snorted. Use a donut. More urgent. Then she sobered. Start with love, end with numbers, keep the middle clear. Nadia texted next, breathe. Shoulders down. If she derails, return to the list. You've got this. She added a sheep gif headbutting a fence. I laughed despite everything. We spent the afternoon rehearsing lines, simple ones. I've covered X. You will cover Y starting now. I won't fund the wedding. That's not mine to carry. Here's how we'll pay back the deposit. Add Serena to all accounts today. I love you. This is love too. Love. Serena practiced saying Mom stop. Soft. Firm. Soft again. It felt ridiculous. It felt necessary. Before we left, I took one more step. I printed the spreadsheet summary. Date. Total to date, $15,140. I circled it with a blue pen so it wouldn't look like an attack. Just a number. Just reality. We drove in Serena's car because mine smelled like coffee and cardboard. The sky was a blunt gray. Snow held its breath. The roads were clear, then not then fine again. Serena kept both hands on the wheel and didn't turn on the radio. What if she cries? She asked at a red light. Then we hand her a tissue, I said, and keep going. What if she says I'm ungrateful? You say thank you for loving us the way you know how. Then you ask her to love us in this new way. She nodded. What if she says I'm special and you're steady? Then I tell her steady saved her house and special can start paying the bills, I said. And we don't move from that sentence. We pulled into the driveway. The porch light was already on. Inside I could see Dad's lamp glowing. A comfort. A witness. We took off our boots in the entryway, the familiar creak in the third board, the smell of soup and lemon cleaner, the murmur of the TV from the living room. Elaine stood at the counter making lists with a gold pen. She looked up and her face lit. Girls, she said. What a surprise. Her smile faltered when she saw the folder in Serena's hand. What's this? Time to talk, Mom, I said. Calm, clear, no apology, at the table. She glanced toward the living room. Now your father is... We'll loop him, after Serena said gently. This is just us. Mom hesitated, then sat. Her eyes darted to the squeaky drawer and then away. The pen kept tapping. I placed the spreadsheet between us. Serena set the contract on top, square, and undeniable. Start with love, Serena whispered almost to herself. I took a breath. We love you, I said. We love Dad. We want this house safe. We want your life calmer. And we're changing how the money works. Elaine's smile thinned. What money? The money I've been moving, I said. I tapped the page. Here's the list. She glanced at it, then tried a familiar pivot. Oh, Mara, you're so detail-oriented. Always helpful. I'm not good with... Stop, Serena said. Soft. Firm. Soft again. Please read. Mom's eyes fell to the totals. The color in her face shifted. This looks like... You're making me out to be... We're making the numbers visible, I said, so we can fix the system. Serena slid the contract forward. And this is the deposit for Riverview. It needs to come from me and Adrian, not Mara, today. Elaine didn't touch the paper. Who told you to look through my drawer? No one, I said. The drawer squeaks. I reached for stamps. I let the truth sit there ordinary. She set the pen down. Her hands trembled. It was one check. We'll sort it later. It was my mortgage transfer, I said. Same amount, same week. Her chin lifted like I'd challenged her in public. I'm your mother. I manage the household. You used my help to buy a picture, I said. Now the picture can pay us back. Serena leaned forward, voice gentle. Mom, I'm taking over the mortgage and utilities, starting tonight. Adrian and I will reimburse the deposit. Add me to every account. We'll set up an emergency fund. Mara will keep handling Dad's medical until the month ends, and then we'll take that too. Elaine's eyes flashed to me, then to Serena. You don't understand pressure, she told Serena. People look at you. They expect... I know, Serena said. I've known my whole life. The expectations were your gospel, but they don't pay for light and heat. We will, with our names on the bill. Elaine's gaze swung back to me. And you, she said, voice softening into the tone that always made me say yes. You'll still help, right? You're so steady. I will help where it's right, I said. Not where it hides. I won't fund the wedding. I won't be the drawer. The kitchen clock ticked. The soup simmered. Somewhere in the living room, a news anchor droned about weather. The world did not split open. It just held. Mom covered her face for a second, then looked at the contract. Her thumb smoothed the corner. I didn't want Serena to feel less than. Her words thinned to a thread. It's her day. Then let us pay for our day, Serena said, and let Mara stop paying for your stories. A beat. Another. The smallest nod. Not surrender. Not victory. A crack where air could get in. Fine, she whispered. Fine. We'll do it your way. Thank you, I said. We turned the kitchen into a small office. Serena opened her laptop. I brought pens, sticky notes, and my folder. Mom watched like we were rearranging her furniture. Logins, Serena said. Start with the mortgage. Mom hesitated, then fetched a spiral notebook. Passwords were written in tidy loops with hearts over the eyes. Serena dialed the bank, put it on speaker, and asked to add herself as an authorized manager. Calm voice, exact dates. Within minutes, she had access. Auto pay on, she said, clicking. From me and Adrian, today. We did utilities next. Power, gas, water, internet. Each call ended the same. Serena added auto pay set, paperless bills to a shared email. I entered every change on my spreadsheet and exhaled in small pieces. The house hummed with a new rhythm, less scramble, more system. Medical, I said. I'll handle the rehab invoices through the end of the month, then hand you the binder. Serena nodded. Done. She transferred money to cover this week and slid her phone across the table so I could see it land. No speeches, just numbers moving the right direction. Then the wedding deposit. Serena dialed Riverview. We need to switch payer and refund the original cashier's check to me, she said. The coordinator tried to say no. Serena kept her voice steady. We can cancel and rebook, but I'd rather not interrupt your calendar. What's the cleanest path, hold music? Back again. We can issue an internal credit and take a new card, the coordinator said finally. Serena read her number. Email confirmation tonight, she said. Thank you. Mom rubbed her temples. I would have sorted it. Serena met her eyes. We just did. Soup simmered. Dad shuffled in hand on the doorframe. His face was pale, but the smile was there. Board meeting, he teased, voice thin. I stood. Sit, we'll bring you soup. He sat at the head of the table. He watched Serena change passwords with a look I remember from algebra nights, focused, proud, a little lost. I set a bowl in front of him and a glass of water. He took my hand. Shortstop, he said. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, I said lightly. We're not done. We weren't. I reached into the squeaky drawer to get stamps for the refund letter and tugged it all the way open for the first time. It stuck, then slid, and the back panel gave with a soft click. A bundle of mail tipped forward. Rubber band. Red stamps on white envelopes. Final notice. Past due. And one more thing that made my skin go cold, a credit card statement with my name on it, sent to my parents' address. I didn't have a card at this bank. I stared at the letters. The air thinned. The radio in the living room whispered weather. The stove fan buzzed. My heartbeat climbed into my throat and stayed there. Mara, Dad said. I set the stack on the table. What is this? Mom's eyes flicked to the bundle and away. Old mail. Serena picked up the top envelope and slid a nail under the flap. Property tax delinquent notice. Pay by the 15th or face penalty. Another envelope. Hospital collections for an old scan. Another. The credit card statement. My name. Minimum due, circled in pink ink. Charges catering deposit, dress fitting venue retainer. Months back. My birthday address. Mom? My voice sounded wrong in my mouth. Why is there a card in my name? Elaine's hands went flat on the table. It's an authorized user, to build your credit. I never applied. Heat crawled up my neck. I never used it. It's family, she said, flinching. I meant to pay it off before you even knew. You're so organized. I knew you could manage the paperwork if anything came up. That's not building my credit, I said. That's using my name. Serena's chair scraped. Mom, this is fraud. Elaine's chin snapped up. Don't say that. What else do you call opening debt in Mara's name and charging wedding bills? Serena's voice didn't rise. It sharpened. No euphemisms. Not now. Mom's face crumpled. I didn't want to disturb you. Your case, your reputation, Richard's parents watching. I didn't want you to feel less than. So you made me less than. I said every word slow. On paper, in banks, in rooms, everywhere. She reached for my wrist. I was going to fix it. You fix a squeaky hinge, I said, pulling back. You don't fix this. You repair it. And you don't get to do that alone. Dad spoke, then voice careful. Elaine, did you put our taxes under the bed too? She folded. I needed room to breathe, she whispered. Every letter was a reminder. Serena stacked the notices. We're going to call the county, she said. We'll pay the tax before the penalty hits. We'll set up a payment plan for the hospital. The credit card. She looked at me. We close it. Today. We send a letter stating all charges are the responsibility of Elaine Jensen. We set up autopay from me, not you. And the bank, I said. My hands trembled, but my voice held. I want a fraud alert on my credit. I want monitoring. I want a freeze until this is clean. Done, Serena said. She'd switched fully into counsel mode, but not the version that made rooms bow. This was personal, focused, protective. She took out her phone. Adrian, I need you here. Yes, now, Mom cried. Not delicate tears, the kind that make no sound and still fill a room. I'm sorry, she breathed. I thought that you could carry this privately, I said, by shifting the weight onto me. She flinched. You're steady, she said, like it was proof, not habit. You don't break. We all break, Dad said softly. The trick is not making someone else do it for you. Adrian arrived with cold on his coat and a stethoscope in his pocket. He hugged Mom, checked Dad's pulse, and read the top notice without commentary. Then he looked at Serena. Tell me how to help. Serena pointed. County first. Adrian pulled out his laptop. I'll get the payment portal. What's the parcel number? I found it. We paid. A confirmation number printed on our little wheezing inkjet. Adrian taped it to the fridge himself like a gold star for adults who finally turned in their homework. Next, call the hospital billing office. We asked to consolidate. We asked for an itemized statement. We set a plan. I hated how practiced my voice sounded. Then the card. Serena put the bank on speaker and didn't let the representative slide into script. This is a card opened with implied authorization under a household misunderstanding, she said. The named person never used the card, never saw a bill, and never consented to the charges. We will not be disputing the merchant. We're assigning responsibility. Close the card. Mark all charges to be paid from a different account. Send a letter acknowledging the change to Mara and Elaine. The rep hesitated, then escalated. A supervisor came on. Serena repeated slower. She used simple words. She did not use the word fraud. She used documentation responsibility household. The supervisor sighed like we were not the first family to do this in December. We can close and reassign liability under our family plan policy, she said. You'll need a signed letter from both parties. Email the form, Serena said. We'll scan it back tonight. We don't have a scanner, Mom whispered, almost childlike. We have a phone, I said, and too much light over this table. Adrian printed the form at the hospital portal. Serena filled lines. Mom signed with a shaking hand. I signed with a steady one I was proud to inhabit. We uploaded. We got the confirmation email. I felt my shoulders drop half an inch. Then the last envelope. It wasn't a bill. It was a letter in Dad's looping script. Not mailed, not sealed. Addressed to me. Dated 2 weeks ago. I unfolded it with thumb and forefinger. Shortstop, it began. If you are reading this, I am still here, but I wanted these words in case I'm quiet, and you need noise from me. I read on. He thanked me for the envelopes I never asked him to notice. He apologized for not stepping between me and Mom's stories more often. He wrote, You are not steady because others sit on you. You are steady because you know where ground is. Keep it. Don't trade it for anyone's comfort. I folded the letter and put it in my pocket because I needed to feel it there. I think I breathed for the first time all day. We kept going. We called the internet provider and changed security questions. We made a shared email for house bills and forwarded every account there. We set a calendar equal to what I had built alone, only now it had all our names on it. Altogether, the work took 3 hours and 28 minutes, the soup over-reduced. The kitchen smelled like rosemary and metal. Unexpected obstacles. Plural. The bank locked us out once because Mom kept typing the pet's name wrong. It's Rufus with 1 F, Serena said gently. You wrote it with 2. We reset. The venue wanted a reprint fee for the name change on their contract. Serena said waive it, and they did. The hospital portal crashed. Adrian swore softly, refreshed, and tried again. In the middle of it, Uncle Hal and Aunt Maggie arrived like weather. Maggie looked from the stack to Mom's face to my posture. Do I need to bake another apology pie, or are we past pie? She asked. We're past pie, I said. We're in signatures. Good, she said, kissing my temple. Pie is a bandage. This needs stitches. Hal hugged Dad. You raised strong women, he said. Dad squeezed his hand with surprising strength. They raised themselves, he said. We get to catch up. At 9, the house was quieter. The emails slowed, the printer cooled. We were tired in a way that felt clean. Mom wiped her face and tried again. Mara, she said, not softening it this time, I made a mess. I made you carry it. I can tell you why I did it, but none of the reasons help. You can be angry. You should be. I will fix what has my name. I looked at her. Really looked. The woman who taught us to iron seams, to send thank you cards, to show up on time, and also the woman who made stories heavier than they had to be because perfection was her only language for love. I'm angry and tired, I said, and I'm not your drawer. That ends tonight. It ends, she said. We're changing more than bills, Serena added. We need new rules, money in the open, choices in the open, praise in the open too. Mom nodded, tears starting again. Praise in the open, she repeated like she wanted to remember. Adrian took Dad back to the living room and set his pillow higher. They watched a basketball game without seeing it. Maggie loaded the dishwasher in quiet clinks. Hal found the broken back panel and fixed the drawer with wood glue and a clamp because some men are built for exactly that moment. Serena pulled out her phone. Emergency fund, she said. 10% of our combined income. Automatic. First deposit tonight. Make it 12, Adrian said from the doorway, and set a rule we do not touch it for weddings. Only health, house, car, and job loss. Done, Serena said, typing. We finished by writing it all down. A 1-page family agreement. Simple lines. Mortgage and utilities. Serena plus Adrian autopay, medical. Serena plus Adrian starting next month. Mara assists with info only. Wedding Serena plus Adrian only. Credit monitoring. Mara frozen. Cost covered by Serena plus Adrian Elaine. No new accounts without written consent from both daughters. Emergency fund 12% combined income. 3 signatures to withdraw check-ins. Sunday call, money on the agenda. 10 minutes. No shame, only facts. We all signed. Dad, too, with a shaky smile and a dot of soup on his sleeve. I pinned the page to the corkboard next to the calendar where birthday reminders used to live. When we were finally leaving, Mom caught my sleeve. I'm going to make this right, she whispered. Not just the bills. The story. I'll believe you when I see it, I said. No heat, just boundary. Outside, the sky had cracked into random stars. The air was knife cold. Serena tucked her chin into her scarf and blew out a breath that made a little cloud. I don't think I've ever been prouder of us, she said. Me neither, I said. She laughed once, then sobered. I'm also scared. That felt like pulling out a splinter the size of a nail. It was, I said, now we clean it. We stood there, 2 women who had been assigned roles before they knew how to read, choosing new ones under a noisy porch light. Behind us, the house looked the same as it had in every December of my life. Yellow light, a shadow moving past a window, the smell of heat through old vents. The sky did not change color for us. The street did not bow. And still, something fundamental had shifted. I'm going to sleep for 2 days, Serena said. You'll sleep for 6 hours and go run 6 miles, I said. She grinned. Rude. True. She squeezed my hand. Tomorrow you freeze your credit. I book a meeting with a financial planner. We add Mom to therapy on Thursdays. We start boring and we keep boring. Boring saved us tonight, I said. She hugged me. Not a quick family pat, a long, full-weight hug that said, we share the same spine. Thank you for starting the spreadsheet, she murmured. Thank Nadia, I said, and the squeaky drawer. When I got home, I took Dad's letter out of my pocket and set it on my own shelf. The one Nadia made me buy. The plant leaves brushed the paper. I touched the edge like it might run away. The first week after the kitchen summit felt strange in a good way. Bills arrived in the shared inbox with subject lines that didn't stab. Serena set reminders. Adrian double-checked transfers. Screenshots of paid started piling up like small trophies. Mom sent photos of receipts with shaky captions. Done. She was trying. I saved every image anyway. Habits don't vanish. They learn new jobs. Sunday we tested our 10-minute money check-in. No stories, no sighs, just numbers. Serena read totals. I logged. Mom said, "Thank you," out loud. Hearing it without a comma and a new request felt like stepping into a warmer room. Work reset, too. I set my status to limited nights and meant it. Theo ran interference like a pro. Nadia held me to my bedtime like a coach with a whistle. I could feel my shoulders drop a little more each day. Then Monday bent sideways. Our CEO called an all-hands at 8:30. Investors had reevaluated risk. Translation budget cuts. A big restaurant client, my redesign was safe, but the timeline got sliced in half. We need miracles, the CEO said. He smiled like that made it fun. After the meeting, the PM slid into my DMs. Could you absorb the marketing site too? No budget to outsource? You're so steady. There it was, the word that used to be a leash. Steady isn't code for unlimited, I typed. I can own the app. If you want the site, we drop features or raise budget. Pick one. He tried a joke. I didn't laugh. He sent a thumbs up and a calendar invite with fewer features. Theo popped by my desk and whispered, "New spine looks good on you." I grinned. It felt better than coffee. 2 days later, Mom arrived at my apartment clutching a garment bag and a tin of lemon bars. She put both on my sofa like peace offerings. "I brought your bridesmaid dress," she said, then pulled out a folder. "And don't be mad. Serena loved your style board, so could you whip up invitations?" "Nothing fancy. You're so talented." "That's paid work," I said, calm. "I'm happy to design them as a vendor. I'll send a contract." Her smile thinned. "But it's family." "I'm family," I said, "and I run a business." "You're charging your sister." "I'm charging for design. Serena and Adrian are paying for their wedding. Those are the new rules." She tried another angle. "Think of it as your gift." "I already gave a gift," I said gentler. "Months of mortgage, utilities, hours. My gift now is boundaries. If you want my work, it's a contract. If not, I'll be there in a dress eating cake." She flinched at that at the old ease closing. "You've changed." "I've corrected," I said. "It looks like change from your seat." She stared at the carpet a long time, then nodded. "Send the contract." She picked up the lemon bars like she could carry back the awkward with the tin. At the door, she turned. "I'm trying Mara." "I see it," I said. "Keep going." Thursday gave me a different test. Dad's rehab called. He'd had a dizzy spell. No emergency, the nurse said, but we'd like family here. My body switched into sprint mode before my brain caught up. I was out the door with a half-charged phone when Serena texted, "I'm 5 minutes away." "I've got it. Your call. Do you need to be here or do you need to finish your deadline?" Everything in me wanted to say, "I'm coming." The old script was muscle memory, but we had redistributed the load. Saying yes to every scene was not love. It was erasing the new deal we built. "Update me when you know," I replied. "If you want me, I'll come. Otherwise, I'll keep my promise to work." "Proud of you," she wrote back. 10 minutes later, BP dip. "Fluids. He's already making bad jokes. Stay put." I exhaled in the hallway forehead against the cool wall. Then I went back to my desk and finished the flow like I said I would. When I checked my phone later, Dad had sent a photo of his hospital jello with a caption, "Shortstop, they can't keep me down." This dessert, though, the wobble in the image was pure him. I saved it next to his letter. Friday's surprise arrived with frosting. Aunt Maggie hosted a tiny shower at her house. It was sweet and sane tea sandwiches, a playlist of Motown no games that required glue guns. Then Mrs. Patel raised a toast that was meant to be kind and landed sideways. To Elaine, she said, beaming, who carried this wedding alone when times were tough, "You're a wonder." And to Serena, our star, who deserves every beautiful thing. The room clapped. My heart went quiet. It wasn't malice. It was the story Mom had trained the neighborhood to hear. I caught Maggie's eye. She saw it too. She tapped her glass. Before we dropped the confetti, a correction, she said, voice bright as sunshine and sharp as a needle. Elaine hasn't been alone. Serena and Adrian are paying for their day. And Mara, she tilted her chin toward me, kept the lights on when the lights wanted to go out. Quiet work is still work. A hush, then the sound of people recalibrating. Serena squeezed my hand under the table. Mom sat very still, face pink. She didn't argue. She didn't flee. She said yes loud enough to count. Yes, that's true. Then she lifted her glass toward me. To Mara, she added, and she didn't choke on it. I'm not a person who loves attention. My skin buzzed, but the truth needed daylight. The clink of glasses felt like a stitch-taking. Later in the kitchen, Mom washed plates with angry care. Maggie enjoys a microphone, she muttered. She speaks when it matters, I said. She made me look bad. She made the story accurate, I said. We agreed to that. I handed her a towel. She took it. We dried in silence. That didn't hurt. That night, Pushback found me anyway. A cousin DM'd me. Heard you're making drama about money. Weddings are about love. I typed 3 replies. I deleted all 3. I sent one sentence. We paid medical first, wedding second. No essay, no receipts, just a compass point. She heart reacted and stopped. The next morning I did something small and huge. I put Mom's spare key on a ribbon and drove it to their house. She opened the door in socks and surprise. I love you, I said, placing the key in her palm. I'll come when invited. I won't let myself in to fix things you haven't asked me to fix. That feels far away, she said. It's respectful distance, I said, not punishment. She tucked the key into the blue bowl by the door and looked at me like she was memorizing my face. Okay. In the quiet week that followed, boredom finally arrived and I treated it like medicine. I took walks with Nadia. We practiced saying no in silly voices until it felt less scary. Theo and I shipped the app redesign on time and watched live metrics tick up like a sunrise on a dashboard. Reviews mentioned the flow. My name didn't appear. I didn't need it to. When the team clapped in stand-up, it still landed. Serena sent me a screenshot from therapy on Thursday, a worksheet titled, How I Learned to Be Special. She captioned it, Turns out I hate gold stars. I sent back a photo of Dad's letter under the pathos. Turns out I like shelves. Mom's efforts kept showing up in awkward, earnest bursts. She called to ask my rates for the invitations. I sent the contract. She signed. She paid the deposit without flinching. When my invoice hit her inbox, she forwarded it to Serena with a tiny note proud to hire my daughter. It was only words. It was also new. The unexpected obstacle I didn't see coming wasn't money. It was the speech. Mom texted a draft of her toast for the rehearsal dinner. She wanted feedback. I opened the doc and felt my chest tighten. The old story was back dressed in nicer clothes. From the day Serena walked, we knew the world would make room. She is a force. She is our pride. Her sister, sweet Mara, has a quiet heart. I stopped there, not because it was cruel, because it was coded. Sweet meant small. Quiet meant invisible. The last 3 paragraphs were a hymn to effort that somehow kept me as background vocals. I stared at it until the words blurred. Then I opened a new doc and rewrote 3 lines. I didn't touch her voice. I changed the lens. From the day Serena walked, we knew the world would make room. She is a force. She is our pride. Her sister Mara builds the room. She notices hinges and holds makes space that lasts and reminds us that love isn't loud to be real. I sent it back with a note, use it if it feels true. If not, cut me out. Don't praise me by shrinking me. She called 20 minutes later. No defensiveness, no gloss. Thank you, she said simply. I didn't hear what I was saying, I hear it now. You can still change your mind, I said. I'm changing it, she replied, all of it. That weekend, Serena and Adrian invited us for dinner at their place. No place cards, no show, just takeout and a puzzle that no one finished. Before we left, Serena handed me a plain white envelope. What's this? First reimbursement, she said. We'll do it in monthly chunks. No interest because I refuse to be that person. I held it without opening it. You don't have to. We do, she said. This is a repair, not a favor. Adrian nodded. Let us fix the hole where it started. I put the envelope in my bag. Not because I needed the money to breathe, though it would help, Because honoring the fix was part of not erasing myself again. On my way home, the radio played a song Dad loves. I let it run. Streetlights made long, patient lines on the asphalt. I thought about all the ways I had confused love with rescue. I thought about Mom learning new grammar. I thought about Serena standing next to me in a kitchen with every drawer open and not flinching. Distance had given us room to build, not a wall, a floor. The rehearsal dinner was in a brick-walled room strung with soft lights, small tables, no place cards, the kind of space where people talk instead of pose. Serena looked calm in cream. Adrian kept brushing his thumb over her knuckles like he couldn't believe his luck. I sat between Aunt Maggie and Theo, watching servers slide bowls of tomato soup to every table. Dad held court with a ginger ale and 3 jokes he'd already told us twice. Then the microphone went to my mother. Elaine stood. She didn't grip the stem like a shield. She held it like a tool. She cleared her throat once and the room quieted. When Serena took her first step, she began, "I thought my job was to move every chair out of her way. She's always been a force. I have said that 100 times and meant every word." She paused. Her eyes found me. What I did not say, what I should have said, was that Mara built the room. She notices hinges and holds. She makes space that lasts. When life fell apart this year, she kept the lights on. Literally, quiet work is still work. I am proud of both my daughters. No flourish, no excuse. She placed the old story on the table and chose a new one. I felt heat rise behind my eyes. I stared at the flicker in a tea light so I wouldn't cry hard. People clapped, not the loud cheer of novelty, the warm sound of a collective correction. Adrian squeezed Serena's hand. Nadia's smile was a sunrise. Aunt Maggie dabbed her eyes and muttered, "Finally." Theo knocked his water glass with his fork in a soft little amen. Mom turned to me. "I'm sorry," she said into the microphone. "Not a performance. A sentence with a full stop. Thank you." I didn't stand up or wave it off. I let the words land. I nodded once. That was enough. After dinner, Mrs. Patel caught my arm. "I had the story wrong," she said. "Consider me corrected." "Consider us all corrected," I said, and meant it. At the end of the night, Dad asked me to walk him to the car. We went slow. The air had that clean edge that comes before rain. "You okay, shortstop?" he asked. "I am," I said. "I heard what I needed to hear." He patted the pocket where his letters usually live. "Good. Keep your ground." "I will." Rain arrived the next afternoon. Not a storm, not a drizzle. A steady, stubborn rain that settled over the conservatory and turned the glass ceiling into a drum. The light went soft and silver. Serena stared up at the sky and laughed. "So much for golden hour," she said. "It's gorgeous," I said. "It looks like the world took a deep breath so you could hear your vows." She grinned at me in the mirror while the stylist pinned her last strand. "Poet now, are we?" "UX person. We make small things feel big," I said. Mom came in with a box of safety pins and a face still pink from crying at the rehearsal. "The florist is short 6 corsages," she said, borderline panicked. I triple counted and, "I'll run to the shop," Adrian said, already halfway out the door. I shook my head. "I've got this," I'll reassign. "Groomsmen can share boutonnieres. Moms and grandmas get flowers first. Everyone else gets ribbon. No one remembers their wrists." Mom blinked, "But it's a constraint," I said. "We solve constraints." I was already tying ribbon. Nadia swung in with extra pins like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. Theo commandeered a Sharpie and wrote names on thin tags. The panic dissolved into activity. 10 minutes later, the room looked like the plan had always been ribbon. My mother watched my hands. "You didn't take over," she said softly. "You just fixed one thing." "I'm not here to rescue," I said. "I'm here to help." She nodded like that sentence unlocked a door. Guests took their seats. Rain tapped the glass like 1,000 small drummers. Dad stood taller than I expected and offered Serena his arm. He looked at her, then at me, and gave the smallest nod. I had never seen his face carry pride that even. Not comparative, just full. Serena met Adrian at the end of the aisle under a canopy of white peonies and watered light. The officiant spoke. Their vows were plain and exact. "I will try, I will listen, I will stay when staying is work." When they said we, it sounded like a plan with backups. Mom's toast came later. She used the lines we'd shaped. She didn't perform them. She believed them. From the day Serena walked, we knew the world would make room, she read. "She is a force. She is our pride." Her sister Mara builds the room. She notices hinges and holds makes space that lasts and reminds us love doesn't need to be loud to be real. She set down the paper and looked at me. Thank you for teaching me to speak better.
I lifted my glass. Thank you for learning.
After dessert, Uncle Hal dragged Dad onto the dance floor for one song. They didn't so much dance as sway. Adrian's parents asked me about my work without the polite glaze people use when they're waiting to talk about something else. We downloaded your app, his mother said. The buttons feel like they read my mind. Tell your friends I bribed you, I said. She laughed. We kept talking. No one asked about billable hours. No one called me sweet. At the end of the night, Serena found me near the coat rack. Her dress had a tiny smear of cake on the hem and she couldn't have cared less. You were perfect, she said. You were married, I said. That's the point. She pulled me into a hug that pressed the air out of both of us. Reimbursements hit Friday, she whispered. First chunk cleared. 2 more months to go. Thank you. This part, she said, pulling back to look at me. I don't get tired of saying I'm proud of you. Same, I said, and I believe you. We left under clear umbrellas. Rain kept music on the glass while we said goodbye to good people. No grand finale, just a soft ending that felt like the right kind. The week after the wedding, the house looked different. The mantel had 2 frames side by side, Serena in her robe, holding a law review certificate, and me at my desk with a design award I'd never bothered to print until Nadia bullied me into it. Same size frames, same distance from the center. Mom didn't announce the change. She let it sit obvious but unperformed. I froze my credit. The bank sent the weirdly cheerful letter that said, "Fraud alert added." Serena forwarded me the new auto-pay confirmations like clockwork. Adrian texted pictures of their spreadsheet with silly captions. Look at these sexy line items because sometimes joy has to be corny to stick. Our Sunday money calls stayed boring. 10 minutes. Facts. No shame. Once Mom started a sentence with, "Why can't you be more like," and actually stopped mid-breath like she'd walked to the edge of a cliff and caught herself. Sorry, she said. Old road, wrong turn. We all heard the brakes squeal. We kept driving. My business grew in the quiet. The restaurant chain signed a retainer. A non-profit hired me for a redesign because the director had used our app and liked how it felt in her hand. I raised my rates again. Theo sent me a celebratory gif of a cat wearing a tiny cape. Nadia screamed into my voicemail for 11 seconds and hung up. Perfect. One afternoon, an editor from a design blog asked to interview me about invisible UX. I said yes, then almost said no, then said yes again because hiding is a habit too. The interview felt like a friendly audit. I talked about care as a strategy. I talked about how not being the special one had trained me to look for what users stumbled on. The piece ran a week later with a headline I didn't hate. Mom printed it and stuck it on her fridge with a gold magnet. Full circle new ring. We kept repairing. Serena and Adrian made their first deposit into the family emergency fund on the 1st of the month. Mom called a therapist and didn't miss appointments. Dad started walking the block with Uncle Hal. He told me his legs remembered more than his lungs did. He said he felt useful again because he could take out the trash without stopping halfway. Not everything was neat. A cousin tried to restart the old script at a barbecue. Serena's the one going places, he said, winking at me like a joke. I didn't pull receipts. I didn't give a speech. I smiled. There's room for more than one place, I said. Then I changed the subject to the ribs because some fights are attacks that want an audience and I no longer audition. A bigger test came from inside. On a gray Wednesday, Mom called in tears because the water heater died and the plumber wanted a decision right then. Old reflex lit up in me, grab keys, run fix. I sat down instead. Call Serena, I said. She is on the account. She makes this call. A beat of silence. I could hear her rewire. Right. Yes. She sniffed. Right. I hung up and shook. Saying no to the rush is its own kind of dizziness. 10 minutes later, Serena texted handled. New heater. Good warranty. Mom breathed. Proud of you for not rescuing. I went for a walk around the block. Snow had melted into that thin March slush that ruins shoes. I didn't care. My feet felt like they belonged to me. Spring arrived. The conservatory sent thank you photos printed on thick paper. Dad put one on his nightstand. He told every visitor I walked her down that aisle like the accomplishment was his heart and not his legs. Maybe it was both. At the end of April, Serena and Adrian paid the last reimbursement. We marked it with tacos on my couch. No speeches. We put the receipt in the folder labeled repairs and watched a bad movie. Halfway through, Mom texted a photo of the mantle with a caption, "I love this view. No daughter was bigger." That was the whole point. In May, my app team launched the new onboarding we'd been sweating over for months. Churn dropped. Reviews rose. The CEO sent me a Slack with 3 words. "You were right." It felt better than any title I'd ever seen on a card. I took Nadia out for noodles, and we toasted to boring systems because dramatic rescues are movies and we wanted a life. June brought a small ceremony at City Hall for my business license. Not a big deal. A small paper that said, "You built something you can stand in." I invited only Dad. We took a selfie on the steps where my hair did a weird thing, and I kept it anyway because we looked like us. On the way home, he said, "You know the thing about shelves," and laughed before he finished. "You can dust them without moving the house." Summer slipped in wearing air you could drink. One hot Saturday, Serena showed up at my place with iced tea and a stack of blank notebooks. "What's this?" I asked. "Retirement planning," she said, dead serious. "For you." "We did, Mom and Dad. We're doing yours next. You're not allowed to be the only one without a 5-year plan." We spent 2 hours with calculators and a wild guess about future income that didn't make me blush to say out loud. It felt like packing for a trip I'd actually take. Fall again. Maples on our street made confetti. The emergency fund passed a number that felt solid under your feet. Dad's cardiologist used the word stable and smiled when he said it. Mom stopped calling me steady. She started calling me my builder, like she'd learned a new noun and wanted to practice. The last loose thread was the one I didn't expect the spare key. One Sunday after dinner, Mom handed it to me. "Not because I expect you to rescue," she said, "but because you deserve to walk in when you want to, not when you have to." I took it. I put it on the ring with my apartment keys and the tiny metal tag Nadia bought me that reads, "Hold." Boundaries are not walls. They are doors you can lock or open. I slid the key into my pocket and felt the weight I chose. We're not a perfect family now. We still step on old floorboards and hear them creak. We still tell a story and catch the word that used to cut. But the script changed. The new lines fit in our mouths. Money lives in spreadsheets, not in the dark. Praise lives in daylight. And my work, my quiet, careful work, doesn't need a spotlight to be seen. It just needed me to stop turning it off. If you've listened this far, you know the truth I learned the hard way. Steady is not the same as available. It's a talent, not a leash. Special is not a crown. It's a pressure that can warp a spine if no one teaches you how to stand. Families confuse these words until someone says, "Enough." We said it. We wrote it down. We signed it. We kept going. I keep Dad's letter on the shelf Nadia made me buy. The plant has grown around the frame. On hard days, I slide the page out and touch the line where he wrote, "You are steady because you know where ground is. Keep it." Then I send an invoice, or I say no to something I would have swallowed, or I call my mother just to talk about the soup she's making without offering to pay for it. Tiny choices, new muscle, a different life. If any part of this sounds like yours, I'm holding up a light. Not to blind you, to show the hinge. You can build a room where you fit. You can teach people how to treat you without teaching them to fear you. You can be loving and still say, "That is not mine to carry." Tell me where you're listening from. Tell me the sentence you want to rewrite in your own house. Drop it in the comments. Someone else might need your words the way I needed to hear my mother say mine. If this story helped you, name something hit, like "So It Finds Someone Who's Still in the Dark." Subscribe if you want more real stories about building ground under your feet. And take a second to check your drawers, the literal ones and the ones with feelings in them. Open them all the way. Count what's inside. Then decide out loud what belongs to you.